All right. So welcome to the Project Legion graphics panel. I would like to introduce today's presenter, starting with CCP Android, the lead technical artist, CCP Photon, graphics technical director, CCP Supalette, the art director, me, and Phil Scott from Nvidia. Now, I hope some of you guys, well actually all of you guys, have seen the keynote and the live demo yesterday. Hope you enjoy it. And today, we are going to show you some of the latest addition to the EVE universe and some of the cool text under development by the team in Shanghai. So in the presentation, we'll be starting with walking you through some of the latest design of the drop suits and weapons, followed by the demonstration of what text we're using and how they work, including atmospheric density, surface and lighting, and terrain and environment. Lastly, our partner, Nvidia, will present how physically based particles will enhance in-game experience. To start off, so gears. So for you who played the game, obviously, this is a big part of the game centered around fitting and gears and equipment. It's the core of it. So in patch 1.8, we completed the racial parity of drop suits, light weapons, and sidearms. In this section, I will go through the designs of some of the assets and share with you some of the thoughts behind it and the design philosophy. The Galende heavy drop suit. Yeah. So one of the challenges we got early on when we designing these drop suits was they need to pick up the ratio style across the EVE universe, but in a totally different scale. If you can imagine ships, right, in EVE, kilometers long, versus drop suits in human scale, it's always a tricky thing to deal with. So how do we balance it? Take this drop suit for example. We thought about using the cyclotron, which is based on the iron tech the Galende owns. The circular glowy shapes you can see in there. Most of the Galende ships have them, but in a different scale. So what we did was to rescale them and fit them into functional parts as in backpacks as such. And they become one of the most iconic elements of these drop suits, combined with the usual air-molded and curved shapes from the Galende visual language. We got a really badass Galende drop suit here. So it's the same methodology goes to other suits. We're using an exoskeleton frame system on the heavy Minmatar suits. We thought it matched up with the Minmatar's quickness and agility very well. Also, it's got a very sort of a raw and beastly look to it. That captures the Minmatar's sort of tribal riot nature. Again, like beyond just angular shapes, the cold, efficient, and military look and feel of the Caldari is something that I really want to convey here. I've always imagined the Caldari troops to be the future SWAT, if you can imagine. When I first saw the concept on this one, the Caldari light drop suit, and I thought, that's it. Like, this is now it. And just totally non-subjective. We got it in the poster of this year's Fanfest. I just love it so much. It's easily one of my favorite drop suits. Speaking of which, the rail rifle is one of my favorite weapons nowadays. And since the internal testing, the rail rifle has quickly become one of the more popular weapons, assault rifles, despite its damaged model. It's also got this look and feel that the players, including myself, can be attached on. We've always wanted our weapons to look deadly, something reliable you can hold in your hands and pull your trigger and expect your enemy to lie down. And the tricky thing is, though, the designing a futuristic weapon is sometimes, we are pushing too far, like in the sci-fi aspect. Sometimes it becomes a little goofy. And, how do we balance that? So there needs to be something between futurism and familiarity, something that we can connect it with current tech. The way we did it was to keep some of the rules in modern weapon designs, such as how parts are assembled. Also, the basic ergonomic designs. You still need a grip, and you need a trigger, you need a receiver, and things like that. In this case, based on that, on top of that, we also injected the Caldari, the ratio technology, the Caldari railtech in there. It's a railgun, actually. As you can see in the front, that the split rail barrel that does the job quite well, combined with the magnetic generator in the middle there. When it comes to the SMG, the Max SMG, it's supposed to be a personal defense weapon, so we're going to shorten the barrel a little bit and make it more compact and efficient. And this carries through to the pistol as well. The bolt pistol is really our version of the Magnum, if you can imagine, in the real life. That it just delivers a huge amount of much fun to shoot with. And modular design was also something that we spent a lot of time investigating in. Some of you might have noticed, some of the details or the shapes of these guns is actually designed based on the Minmatar SMG, the mainframe system. Like it's all intended because we want some sort of consistency across the designs within the race. And this was designed on based on the mainframe with an extended barrel and stock, just to make it in the size of an assault rifle. And then when it comes to the ballistic precision rifle, it's a sniper rifle. That we want that consistency, and we also want this to be want this to feel like a product, out of highly advanced manufacturing technology, a manufacture line that can be massively produced, then can restock easily when you lose your gears. So that's the kind of industrial sort of context we want to get in there. Now, we saw some shiny new toys, but none of these would be believable without an immersive environment. Now I will welcome CCP Android. He's going to talk about how we build a living and breathing world. Enjoy.
Hello, I'm CCP Android. I'm going to talk a little bit about immersion through environment effects, but based on yesterday's presentation, we should probably have a section on trees and burning trees. There is one over there, so just imagine we talked a little bit about them. And rocks as well, yeah. So atmospheric scattering and fog is the first thing that I want to talk about. So what we have is what goes into the atmospheric scattering and the fog is light scattering. We have physically based atmospheric scattering, which allows for more rich environments and atmospheres. We have light shafts that are generated through cascaded shadow maps that give the environment and mood more contrast. And we have fog height density, which gives the scene volume. So we're going to show you a short breakdown video now with showing a few of the different things that we can do with the atmosphere fog tech. And after the video, we're going to take a look at a few frames from the video to break down what's actually happening. So as you can see here, this is the level that was played in the keynote yesterday. When we're switching between different types of fog here, you can see the thick fog here. So the fog is essentially just particles in the environment. This could be dust or ash or even humidity. When there is a thick presence of particles like this in the environment, for example, if there's a volcano spewing up ash close by, like we have in this scene, your visibility starts to go down. And it's not only because it's not only depending on the density of the stuff in the air, but because light sources, such as the sunlight, is lighting up these particles, which make them more visible. You see this very clearly if you're driving a car in a blizzard or in a sandstorm. If you turn on your headlights, which is a strong light source, your visibility goes down. So you should not have your headlights on when you're driving in a blizzard. When this happens on a large scale, you also start seeing light scattering in the atmosphere. What that means is the color coming from the sun or from the strong light sources actually starts changing color throughout the fog, for example. So what we created is a physically based system that works with the environment that we place it in. So that means that we could have the same level, for example, this level, with a different mood. It could have a bigger sun, it could have a different color sun, and depending on the atmosphere is going to be different. So let's look at the breakdown a little bit more close. So you can see here that the fog in this area is height-based. Look closer to the ground, the fog is actually thicker than higher up. So you can see from this shot, we're actually above the fog. Here, you can see that the fog is now much thicker and higher. And from this angle, we're actually in the fog. And this is actually similar. It's similar to being in an airplane when you're going down for landing or up from the airport. So when you leave Fanfest and you go up through the clouds, just remember this fog presentation and think, yeah, that's cool. And you can also see there's a little bit of debug text, which I forgot to remove, which actually also just shows that this is a very early prototype, even though it looks very good. Taking a look at the original picture again, you can see that the sunlight around that awesome-looking structure there in the background, you can see the sunlight there. So this structure is actually an atmospheric scrubber, a broken one. You can see that it's not really doing its job very well because the atmosphere there is pretty disgusting. But the thing to take note of is that the sun is in that corner and behind that structure, and the sun is orange. And you can see that the sun is actually going through the fog in that area, and it's scattering throughout the whole fog volume that's in the scene. So you can see that closer to the sun, the color is orange, then it fades out to like a blue-grayish type of color. Looking at the same picture again here, this is with no light scattering. So looking at this is still pretty cool. Like the fog is still pretty cool. You can see the silhouettes, but there is something missing from the environment. Like you can see there is something missing. You don't really feel like this is a real thing because fog in the real world doesn't really behave like this. So again, show the shot again, the normal shot, just to show what happens when we go in and the sunlight is taken into account again. So you can see there's a huge difference going from no light scattering and then to the light scattering again. So at the end of this presentation, when we've all presented our things, we're going to show a little bit of a video because these are pictures from very high up. They don't really do it justice. You really have to be on the ground and seeing all of this in action. So at the end, we're going to show a very short video of us running around in that environment, which is going to be pretty cool. So I'm going to hand this over now to CCP Photon, who is going to talk about the surfaces and the lighting.
Okay, so when we moved to Project Legion, we put a lot of focus into lighting. Lighting is something that if you get right, you can increase the immersion and make the scene more believable. And so we actually brought together several different lighting techniques. One of the things that you probably noticed from the keynote yesterday, which was mentioned, was reflections. We actually have different reflection techniques, which I'll break down a bit later. We also put a lot of time into switching over to fully dynamic lighting. And this is very important to allow, again, the interaction between surfaces and lighting and how it changes in different situations. And we also put time into our post-processors. Very important to kind of take the information from the lighting and produce a final image. So this is a video which will show a breakdown of each of these elements. It will start with, I believe this is with no lighting. Oh, yes. And then you see the reflections kick in. Then we have sunlight and shadows from the sun. And then we have what we call secondary lighting, man-made lights, essentially. Okay, this is a pause. Yes. So these are what we call the localized environment effects. These include, the moving particles in the air and other visual effects. And next is that's the fog that has been talked about. Okay, so I'll now go through a bit more detail, but to show you these elements again, indirect lighting. Oh yeah, so this is the indirect lighting. There is, this is very important, but also, as you can see, it's not really coming through that well. It's just the lighting that's bounced around in the environment. Then as you saw, the reflections. They can add a lot, and in movement you can see, that they update and they give a lot of a feeling of movement. The primary lighting, the sunlight, secondary lighting, the environment effects. I think I missed one. And these are the post-process. So it takes the image as it's initially rendered and adds a feel to it. And then, yes, the atmospheric effects. So the reflections are actually broken down into two elements. The first is dynamic image-based reflections. This is reflections from the environment and large static objects. So that would include, big structures and the sky and terrain. And then we have the second, which is a technique that allows us to produce reflections from anything on screen, including dynamic objects. So things like vehicles, characters, they're the part of the screen space reflections. And these two methods are combined so that you get a very complete reflection in the ground or in the walls or on any surface. Dynamic lighting, we basically moved away from any kind of pre-computed light maps. So everything you see is actually rendered real-time dynamically. But basically the sunlight, the headlights from vehicles and secondary lighting on the buildings, these are all rendered dynamically. We also have the image-based, so the images that are used for the reflections are also used to calculate indirect lighting. And this is also dynamic, so you can get indirect lighting from explosions and, again, anything that's dynamic. So, post-process effects. Basically, we have three main techniques that you probably noticed. Dynamic tone mapping allows us to simulate how the eyes adjust in different lighting situations. So a good example is moving from a dark room to a bright area. There's normally a certain amount of time before your eyes adjust, and then and this is simulated in our post-process. Screen space ambient inclusion is what that stands for, and that's a way to simulate how light is occluded between objects, and it's a reasonably common technique. And then we also have motion blur, which helps when things move fast, it helps smooth that out a bit. Okay, so that's my section. I'll hand back to CCP Android, who will take you through advances in terrain.
Thank you. Okay, so this is where the tree picture should have been. Exactly, this is where the tree picture should have been, like for next Fanfest. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about terrain. Yeah, I'm CCP Android again. I'm going to talk a little bit about terrain. So the things that we want to accomplish with terrain in Project Legion is it needs to be big, it needs to look good, and it needs to be customizable. EVE Online has tens of thousands of planets that all have to look very good, and they are very big. They don't have to be customizable, but we're not going to be able to make a unique environment everywhere. So the way that we're gonna, the thing that I'm going to talk about now is not that they're going to be big or they're customizable, but how we're going to make them look good. And the way that we're going to do that is through immersion through scale, which I'll talk about a little bit later, consistency through light and shading, and high surface detail through tessellation. So now we're going to watch a video again in a similar format, focusing now on the terrain. So this video is at a similar place as the keynote, where they went through on the keynote, the totally not scripted keynote yesterday. But the thing to look out here is actually, especially when we go past this rock, is just how much detail there is in the terrain over here. The effect doesn't really look very good unless you're moving. So that fits very well into what CCP Photon was talking about earlier. We're moving to fully dynamic lighting so that we can have moving lights and the scene just comes alive. So you can see that the things that CCP Photon talked about earlier are coming online. So here's the key thing. If you look at this is pre-tessellation, and then it kicks in. You can just see how rich the terrain becomes. Like you really start to see the details and the richness of this of the scene. And then all the rest of the effects come in. So like you saw in the keynote yesterday, this is where we ran up right before CCP Praetorian got. Well, I think CCP Praetorian killed someone up there, which is cool. So now we go onto the bridge. This is the area where I hide in our internal playtests. And now you can see actually in this shot, like just the amount of detail in the scene is pretty amazing, and we're very happy with this. So, talk a little bit about immersion through scale. So, the way to get the immersive experience that we want on the terrains is we've identified that scale is very important. So, for example, when you're walking around, you need to get the sense that you are big and powerful. And the slides that you saw before, for example, of the Min-Motor Heavy, like that is a badass drop suit. So when you see someone wearing this, you think, well, that guy is really cool. But when you're wearing it, the environment needs to be able to give you a sense of how badass you actually are. And this is something that we've identified and we really want to build on. So when you're in a man-made environment, this is much more easy because your brain kind of can make the connection. If you see a door, you think, oh, okay, so I can probably walk into that door. So this is probably how high I am. What we need to do on the terrain is high-quality ground detail. So when you look on the terrain, it needs to give you these visual cues, just to tell you how big you are and how powerful you are. And the way to do this is through high-quality ground detail and through a high density of objects. So today I'm only going to be talking about the high quality of ground detail, but density of objects is also very important. So, taking a look at this scene here, this is a piece of terrain that looks pretty good. But the thing about this is, if you were to place a character or vehicle right now, just blindly into this scene, and you don't know how big it's going to be, you're gonna run into problems, because this area could be 2 square meters, or it could be 50 square meters, or 100 square meters, because there are no real visual indicators. But when we turn on the tessellation, which is a rendering feature that we've integrated, and we just recently did it, because you didn't see it in the keynote, because it was basically the night before. You can see what happens. There's much more detail. You start seeing light of the rocks. All sorts of clues just start to come through. And another important thing about this is, also based on what CCP Photon was talking about, with the real-time lighting, all of this casts cool shadows and has specularity and all sorts of cool things. So this really adds a lot of richness into the scene. So what is this that we're looking at? So the main thing that's giving us this detail is called tessellation. And tessellation is essentially a method where small detail is created on objects, such as terrain. Terrain is a very good application for tessellation. So it's created in runtime based on parameters that the artists have control over. And we've actually only just begun to explore how we can use this and what we can get out of this. But the early results are actually starting to look extremely promising. So here's a screenshot that is just terrible. Yeah, and this is due to the strength of our atmospheric density, atmospheric scattering tech, that it's kind of pushing itself into screenshots and stuff. But if you can see this, this is the triangle density of the terrain mesh that we saw before, and just to contrast how much the detail that the tessellation actually adds. So there is a huge amount of detail that we can get out of this technology. So looking at a couple of other examples of this, here's a scene that looks kind of good. But once you start looking closely onto this, like the shadow from the pipe, for example, you can see that the shadow is cast in a very direct line. And you can also see that if you really look at this area is flat. But when we turn on the high surface detail with the tessellation, you really start to see all of these rocks pump out of the mud. There's a little lava field there. And the shadows and lighting are playing much more nicely. So again, similar picture, low surface detail. You see that this kind of works, but especially the shadows that give it away. So taking a look at it again, the feeling that I get when I'm looking at this, and the feeling that we were trying to give, is that you look at this and you think, okay, I'm going to crawl up here, but I might fall because these rocks there in the mud are probably loose. So that's kind of the thing that we're trying to accomplish. And then my personal favorite picture, because it is awesome. So this is what you saw in the keynote yesterday, this area. And this is the shadow in this picture especially shows what we're talking about. So this is like a burnt lava rock, like you can see when you look at the window here in Iceland. But it doesn't look like this. It looks like this. So you can see there's a huge difference in detail. The shadows look much better. The density, scene feels much more rich. I'm going to go back to this one and to this one, because the difference is just amazing. One more time, because it's my favorite slide, and then this one. All right. So yeah, like I promised earlier, we're going to show a very short video we were right before we went on the plane to Fanfest. We were seeing how far we could push all of these technologies together to get the immersion that we're looking for Project Legion. So cranking up all of these technologies and seeing what we can get out of it. So the quality of this video is very low. The frame rate is really wonky, but the idea is there. That's what you're supposed to take out of this. So I'm going to play the video. We're actually really happy with how this turns out. The atmosphere is really thick. You see these visual cues on the terrain there, rocks up there. You can see the light shafts. And this is the atmosphere is very, if you can imagine that if you breathe, take a breath, you're probably going to die. So this is this is the type of hostile environment that we're trying to create, and what the game is all about. So now I'd like to invite Phil Scott from Nvidia, our partner, to show us a couple of things that we're working on together to try to push this even further. So, Phil.
Hey guys, doesn't it look cool? Yeah? Do you want to see some more cool stuff? Yeah. I've just gotten a text off my wife saying that my football team's winning at Old Trafford as well, so spot on. Anyway, that's why I'm excited, not just for the football, but for Project Legion. I think the guys are doing an awesome job, and I think they deserve a round of applause right now. So I've been involved with this sort of on and off for some time now. And we've always had this idea of it can't just be cool, it's got to be awesome. One of the things that's really cool about that is the whole physically based nature of what the guys are doing. And not just with the graphics, but there's this very blurry line between graphics and movement. So if you've seen things like the atmospherics and those sorts of things, they're really important to have the movement in them as well. So what we've been doing is you know, we want to induce movement. We want to induce that feeling of being there. We've got density in the graphics, but we want to also have density in other things as well, right? So there's sort of this whole idea of semi-permeable materials. You want to interact with the world, right? You don't just want to feel like a clone in an alien world, right? You want to feel like you are actually in that world. But the other thing is you want to have secondary motion, because we have secondary lights, okay? So the secondary motion is the reaction of things, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to show you a few of the things that we're working on right now. We haven't got these in game yet, but we're certainly working on these. So what this is this is a vent. It's got a fan underneath it. You can see this sort of whole vortex effect. The character can run through it. He sort of drags some of the smoke. It's sort of kind of cool, really. Even if I do say so myself. It's kind of cool. And this is proper environment. So if you can imagine some cool things like, you know, you've got like a camping little snipe and such, who hides behind these smoke vents. The first shot you fire goes through the smoke. It opens up the smoke, and then you unleash on him with another weapon. I think that's pretty cool, right? That's gameplay. That's not just pretty graphics. That's suddenly inducing strategy. And no CCP game would be complete without, you know, that element as well. So the next thing we're going to show you is the way that light interacts with this, right? So if you imagine, I'll paint a picture first. You're dropping in, right? Your clone's hitting the world for the first time. Now, these aren't clones, these are balls, right? They're not quite as complex as a clone, and they certainly don't hit the art direction. But this is the lighting, and this is what we can do with it. Imagine making an impact like that. So imagine a dropship dropping a tank in. You know, this is fully lit. This is semi-permeable material. This is the fact that all of these things can interact with these things, right? This is the real world. Okay? But enough of the light and shade, right? You know, we've got light and shade and the game's in abundance, but we need to have something that's kind of sparkly, right? And sparkly is cool. So this is the next thing. So imagine, and I'll paint a picture because I want you to think of what you want first before I show you it. Imagine a power coil. Imagine some of the cool pickups that can be brought in. Imagine some of the weapons that you can make with this and some of the fabulous deaths that you can generate. Right, so what you're looking at here is numerous particle systems that fully interact with each other. You're looking at something in the order of, by the time all of the particle systems come on screen, something in the order of about 90 to 100,000 particles, all fully interacting with each other. Yeah, and we want to shoot them too. Now this is cool from the point of view that this is fully artist controlled. This is fully simulated vortices. So what we've got is this is something that's fully art controlled. It's fully part of all the tool chain, and it's just crazy what you can do with these things, right? So what I would say is, you know, have your ideas, make CCP aware of the ideas that you guys want to see, because you're going to be playing this, and the guys are listening. You know, that's the important thing. The guys are listening, right? So I think from what we're doing, you know, we're involved with this. You know, we want to make this the best shooter on the planet. We want to make it the best shooter in the universe, and certainly the best shooter in New Eden. So with that, I'm going to hand back to William. And thanks very much.
All right, thank you, Scott. Thank you. Very, very cool tech. So, so this is a little update of where we are, what we've been working on for Project Legion, and we're very happy with the results we're getting. You know, and then a big shout out to the team in Shanghai for the very, very hard work put into this. Next then, if you have any question, we have a roundtable session. This is right after this. I don't know how much time we have for this room. I guess we can do a bit of Q&A here. So if for anyone who has any more questions, then we can just move to Dr. C to do a roundtable too. All right. All right. Thank you for your time. Thank you. I'm not sure. We have any. I think we can just do it here if no one kicks us out. Shall we just do it here? Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Question. Yeah. You want to mic there?
All right, so I know one thing that's probably on a lot of console gamers' minds is, you know, they want to know that maybe low-end machines and cheaper machines will be able to play this game. And what are y'all's thoughts on scalability in terms of your graphics design and being able to still play without having to spend a fortune on a new machine?
Is this on?
Yeah, it's on.
Excellent. So yes, we're very well aware that we will be supporting different specifications of machines. We certainly will be making this technology scalable. In a lot of cases, you know, what we've shown may not be as polished or as high quality as has been shown in the keynote, but certainly a lot of this technology will be featured even on the lower spec machines.
Okay, thanks. And for terrain, your thoughts on maybe with the new ideas in terms of the PvE and stuff like that, maybe going back to procedural generation, since you're looking at player versus enemy type of engagements where maybe map balance isn't as critical as it would be necessarily in a, you know, like a skirmish game mode and stuff like that, to allow players to have the variability that kind of they would expect and hope to have in a game like that happens like in New Eden.
Yeah, so is this on? Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, so about procedural terrains, it is something that we're always looking at. I would say it's the way that we're developing the technology, and we are looking at the terrain very closely. So it is something that we are keeping in mind. So definitely.
Right. Thank you.
So when do you actually start working on weapons? I mean, really, weapons, vehicles, especially weapon effects. I mean, for instance, at the moment, when you get fired down by a plasma gun or a rail rifle, a laser rifle, you know, scramble rifle and a rail rifle, they look the same. And so instead of having, you don't see the kind of the slug followed by the shiny kind of trail that a rail rifle produce, rather than this quick flash of light that a scramble rifle produce. Now, it's all nice and having a nice background effect, but I expect that, and I expect that from Call of Duty, let alone, you know. So, when are we going to get the vehicles, especially, you know, new vehicles, new weapons, weapon effects, you know, the kind of the trail effects of weapons, because the Nvidia stuff looks good when it applies to weapons. I mean, you know, because that's what, you know, when I'm going to be on the ground, I'm most likely to be firing my weapon. I'm not going to look at the scenery so much unless it has some sort of tactical advantage. I mean, the air vents, that's going to be good because that will be tactical advantage. I'll be able to, you know, use it to my advantage, or, you know, or to, you know, try to kill other people. But in the end, for me, it's going to come down to, you know, what I'm going to have a direct impact on my life. If lava on the ground has an impact, i.e. I walk over lava, I take damage, I shouldn't walk over lava, that's going to have an impact, and I'm going to care about that. But
no, I completely agree. Like, you know, when it comes to like you have a personal emotion attached to what you own, right? Your weapons, your drop suits. Like that's number one thing when it comes to in-game experience. That's exactly why we have you here. You know, to help us out and how to improve these, say, like the weapon tracer. You just mentioned like the difference between say, the laser rifle and a rail rifle. They need to be different. I completely agree. Because like what's on the horizon is that like a lot of things, you know, can be upgraded to, you know, physically based graphics generation. That's where you get, say, like collidable sparks. So if you can imagine, and debris and all that, that will add a lot more oomph when it comes to like impacts and explosions and weapon effects and like this. And to address your second question, or the first question rather, to complete the racial parity of the weapons, is that what you mean?
yes, racial parity.
Yes, it's on the plan. Actually, they are in design already, but I can't promise the date yet, but they are in design and being prototyped, yes.
Will we be able to get something like a flamer? I mean, because, you know, you've got nice dice. Will we be able to get a flamer, you know, as a weapon? Because, you know,
There's actually,
we would like to have a flame type
You
weapon.
probably won't get a flamer, but you would get something
Or a
probably
cryo-weapon.
working similar like that. But like then again, I can't. You know, at this point I'm not allowed to. Although like very tempted, but like
Okay.
I can't give you more detail at this point of time. But there are very cool weapons in design and being
Okay.
prototyped.
So one thing to add
Yeah.
to this, we were talking about different weapon types and effect types and all of that. We have very exciting technology that's called submaterials and submaterial instancing that allows us to do a lot more variations of stuff. And if anyone's interested, we can go into detail about how those work on at the roundtable.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you guys are
Hello?
having a round table.
All right.
You guys-
We're gonna
It will
at
be on the
roundtable,
round
yeah.
table. But if you have questions, I think we have like 10 minutes more time. So.
All right, well, I'll try to be quick. Have you ever considered randomized procedural generation of maps to actually give those thousands of worlds uniqueness?
Yes, we have. Okay, so this is actually something. So again, I would try to get to the roundtable because I love talking about this stuff. So procedural generation of anything really is really cool, and we are building all of our technologies are being built to be able to support to populate the planets in the Eve universe, which when we kind of fulfill our vision. They're going to be all unique, but if that's going to be 20 years, like I don't know. But we are all of our technologies are being made. Like the reason why we went fully dynamic lighting is to allow us to better move things because we can't if you have pre-computed lighting, randomizing stuff is not going to work. It is again this is something that we are very interested in, but we're taking small steps to be able to get towards it.
Hi, what's the workflow like for tessellation? Do you just give it a texture and it takes a guess about what geometry to make, and then you
guys
refine it?
are cool. All right, good question.
I can probably answer this.
That's a good question.
It really depends on how extreme you want to do, but the input that you give in is essentially a vector field rather than just a height map. So to get the best results out of tessellation, you actually want to have a full three-dimensional vector that would describe. So you can have sideways pointing stuff as well as just stuff that points up.
Okay,
But
and
essentially,
that's telling it like what direction it should point to.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. So with that, you can pretty much make a shape that actually is near enough round to the semicircle.
Okay.
As opposed to just a height map. And that's actually one of the big differences with the landscapes as well, if you look at them. The landscapes themselves can introduce all of this. But the tessellation tech actually has an awful lot more cool stuff that hasn't been shown.
Yep.
And we were even in the office yesterday, so I talked about some of the even cooler stuff that can be done as well. What's been shown here is just the start. of what can be done with it. But the actual workflow itself to generate tessellation environments is actually very good. What you couldn't see on the screens is actually the way that shadows and things interact with the landscape, because what you've got is actually real detail there as opposed to being wallpaper. And that makes the world of difference when it comes to immersion.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
So, with Legion coming to PC mostly, this is going to be a question you are definitely going to get asked a lot. OpenGL, is it happening, or are we all staying with DirectX, as I've been told?
So, there is going to be more information about this either today or tomorrow from JC or some of the executives. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's going to be more information about this.
Yeah, there will be a further announcement and clarification on things addressing these later on by JC. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ironwall Saber here again.
Yep.
One common complaint amongst first-person shooters is the lack of knowing what your enemy is doing, and it's usually done in other games through animations or possible little cues. For example, if an enemy were to overheat his weapon, you can see him fumbling with the weapon and the barrels being hot of the weapon. Dust 514 lacks a lot of this, and to the point that it's even hard to tell what sort of suit it is, what guns are they using, and unless they're shooting at you, you don't know how much threat they are. So is there any plans to start addressing this for either game?
Yes, yes. But like for right now, probably not necessarily from an animation or adding more animation detail point of view. It's more like I know the guys are investigating in the UI design. Basically, it's a revamp the HUD design to give you more valuable intels of like it's even beyond what you described there, like what weapon your enemies are using. You know, if we are if what your suits up or fitter are effective enough against them, like what kind of strategy we take. So that's very important. Right now, what we have on the screen, like on the PC3 version, that what you have is just numbers, right? You have like effectiveness and stuff like that, but probably no one bothers to look at it, and you're too busy shipping people, aiming and all that. So this is the next step that for us is also a big challenge, you know, how to design things right, that not making the screen too clutter, just feel like just everything that you don't know where to look at. But yes, that's something being addressed very closely. When it comes to animation, I agree. Like, it's something that I personally have always wanted to improve because of the lack of details. Because just the common issues that on these kind of multiplayer platform, that it's really hard to get it right. But as we go along, like, there's something that we need to slowly go step by step, how to improve it and to give it not just the immersion of the game, but also like valuable detail, valuable information for gameplay. Yeah.
Hi.
Thank you.
Talking about the animations, so you basically say you don't have any plans to improve the animations?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But like, then again, like we have a priority. A list of priorities as well. Like, we need to set the foundation, right? Like, when I set foundation, like, there's something that the guys being working like very, very hard on rendering, train tech, how to, you need to render things first before you make things pretty. So, like, we all take, these steps in an order that makes sense from a development standpoint. But I totally agree, like, for, an action shooter, like, animation is very, very important.
It's all part of the acting. I mean, you're in the middle of the war zone, and you want to see your enemies in pain and dying in agony.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I can actually chime in a little bit. Yeah. So you are right. The animation needs a little bit of love, and I mean the goal is immersion, and if you are immersed by seeing your enemy die in a horrible way, like then. That's how it's going to be. Not for you, but like we are going to be very focused on immersion. So if there is anything that we feel is breaking immersion, and if it is animation or whatever it is, and we've identified a lot of things. But yeah, the key is it is immersion.
You currently have a stock animation, or you do your own mocap?
The source data were all mock-up, or almost all mock-up. But some for the first-person weapon, obviously, we need to polish a bit, or do a bit of a hand-key animation to make it right, because it's really hard to do mock-up for, especially sci-fi weapons. You can't really rely on existing model. But like for most of the third-person animations, we did mock-up. Yes.
And just a last question: do you have any plans? Maybe this is too far out, of just making buildings destroyable, objects
this
interacting?
Is too far out.
Okay. Yeah, I can actually answer that. So, yeah, destruction is really, really cool. But yeah, again, it is the key is immersion. Like we're going towards it like step by step. Yeah, currently we don't have any destruction or anything like that. But it is something that we talk about a lot, because like the development team thinks this is really cool. So I'm gonna say hopefully.
Because like destructible environment, right? Not just from an immersion standpoint, also from a gameplay standpoint, it will change a lot of things. How you design levels and existing levels. Does it make sense? Say like after 10 minutes you got like nothing. Like this is a flat ground. We destroyed buildings. Probably wouldn't work. Like there's a lot of things that needs to go into design before we make that decision. It's just so much more than just a technical choice for us at this point. So like we need to take a careful look at it. We need to do the right thing and make a right call on this. Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I think time's up. If you have any more questions, we can. We'll see you around table 2.
Yeah. Come to the round table.
Thank you.